I was saying, y'all, but Rico of Street Score is coming through the Commanders Kings channel. And make sure y'all check out all of the content that we're putting here. We're live streaming Tuesday night, every Tuesday night. You know, things happen. It may not necessarily be every Tuesday night, but most Tuesday nights, but every week. We're here to break down a lot of really interesting stats from this previous Commanders season, because I don't think people realize how great we actually have it before we head into this next season, before we get into free agency, this draft. Man, Jayden Daniels was even better than you even think. I'm going to show you some stats why. Terry McLaurin is a top 5 wide receiver. I have some stats to back that up. Sainristil was one of the biggest draft steals in that 2024 NFL draft. I have stats for that as well, and more. But before we get into everything, make sure you still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time we release informative and opinionated videos on this channel. Again, be on the lookout for all of the live streams. Make sure you have that bell clicked in next to the subscription button so you get notified as soon as we schedule a live stream. And make sure you check out everybody's channels: Ed Oliver, Louie T, Rio Robinson, and of course me, Street Scores. Now let's go ahead and dive into these stats instead of wasting more of y'all time. Let's get it. Adam. And just a heads up, these stats will be in a very random order and all over the place. Like, there is no any particular type of order that I'm going through with this, like how I normally would put like all of the Jayden Daniels stats together. Then we move on to the next player. Then we move on to the next player and things like that, so on and so forth. Nope, we're about to hop around. And I feel like it's going to be more fun that way. Like, you won't know what to expect. It'll be a Jayden Daniels stat. It'll be a couple other ones. Oh, here comes Jayden Daniels again, just when you thought it was done. So well, let's just test this out, because this is deviating completely away from how I normally do things. Well, first of all, if you look on the screen right now, you know, I can give you all sorts of stats and trying to like explain with numbers how ridiculous Jayden Daniels' rookie season was. But how about I just show you with this chart right here? This is all rookie quarterback seasons since 2006. Look at what Jayden Daniels is. First of all, in comparison to the other quarterbacks in this same rookie class whose names are like a little bit brighter, easier to see. Like, you have Spencer Rattler all the way bottom left, Drake May in the middle, Bo Nix and Caleb Williams somewhere down there, way below, to the point that Jayden Daniels can't even hear them, can't even see them. And Jayden Daniels is just in his own stratosphere, completely away from everybody else, from Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, CJ Stroud, all of these great quarterbacks. Jayden Daniels had a by far better rookie season than anybody, at least since 2006. And again, I feel like this graphic puts it together perfectly. You can truly see how much Jayden Daniels separates himself from the pack. Like, Bo Nix is closer to Andrew Luck than Andrew Luck is to Jayden Daniels. How about Justin Herbert is closer to Justin Winston than Justin Herbert is to Jayden Daniels? Like, it's absolutely insane, man. I mean, Kenny Pickett is closer to Baker Mayfield than Baker Mayfield is to Jayden Daniels. By far, it's not even close. Matter of fact, Baker Mayfield is closer to Sam Darnold's rookie season than he is to Jayden Daniels' rookie season. We could do this all day. We're just going to go ahead and move on right now. Again, we're hopping around, because how about Terry McLaurin? He had 12 touchdowns versus single coverage this past season, including the playoffs, first in the NFL. So yeah, I know a lot of people like to talk about Quinyon Mitchell and all of these corners that did great jobs covering against Terry McLaurin throughout the season, especially in the playoffs and things like that. But I feel like this perfectly emphasizes what I've been saying about the Eagles have done a great job of shading secondary help towards Terry McLaurin. There's usually some type of safety help. He's usually not single covered when being covered by Quinyon Mitchell. It's not like it's just Quinyon Mitchell putting Terry McLaurin on an island by himself and locking him down. This stat shows you that Terry McLaurin is uncoverable 1v1 versus any corner in the NFL, especially with Jayden Daniels as his quarterback. You need to help. He led the NFL in touchdowns versus single coverage. That shows everything we need to know about why you must always have some sort of safety help to protect you against a guy like Terry McLaurin. Also, next up, our starting center, Tyler Biadasz, one of the best free agency signings, I feel like, out of the entire NFL in 2024, regardless of team. Just to let you know, he only allowed 1 sack this past season, and he had a 98.6 efficiency rating from Pro Football Focus. That is absolutely insane stuff. That is literally top 5 center stuff right there, and we're not even paying him to the level of like a top 5 center. So that's just Adam Peters and these guys just doing what they do in maximizing contract value and all sorts of stuff. It's just ridiculous what this front office and coaching staff is doing right now. Tyler Biadasz should be somewhere else getting paid way more money than he's getting paid here, but he's perfectly fine with it because he has Jayden Daniels as quarterback. He's on a potential Super Bowl contender. He's still getting paid, but with the season that he just had, he should definitely be getting paid more. But that, and I feel like the reason I'm mostly bringing that up is because when we're looking towards free agency and we're trying to predict, okay, we have this much cap space, maybe we can sign these few players here, because after that we'll run out of cap space. But just to let you know, some people may be willing to take less money to come here than they would for other teams to join and be a part of the Super Bowl contender, led by, honestly, the biggest talk of the town in Jayden. People are talking about Jayden Daniels right now more than they're talking about the Super Bowl winning Eagles and Jalen Hurts and stuff like that. Whenever they talk about Jalen Hurts, they're comparing him to Jayden Daniels and Jayden Daniels' age. They just can't keep Jayden Daniels out of their mouths, man. The whole Super Bowl week, all of the Pro Bowl coverage, Jayden Daniels was just all over it everywhere. There was more Jayden Daniels on the TV and going viral for, you know, interviews and clips than anybody from the Chiefs or the Eagles arguably combined. I mean, the whole Myles Garrett saga, Jayden Daniels attached to it. I mean, no matter where you look, Pro Bowl coverage, you have Malik Neighbors and Sauce Gardner and Jayden Daniels hanging out like they're just the best of friends. Jayden Daniels is everywhere. But my point is, though, I think we may be able to get people to some, you know, not agree to some ridiculous discounts to where they're just severely underpaid. But I don't think we're going to have to pay people like the top dollar market setting money to get them here. We were able to convince that Tyler Biadasz, who played like a top 5 center last year, to come and do it after we won 4 wins. After we only had 4 wins last season. Imagine what happens after we win 14 and you have a definitive top 5 quarterback on a rookie deal in Jayden Daniels. That not only just on the field, but even off the field wise, everybody wants to be around. I'm just letting y'all know now, be prepared. Free agency may get a little fun. Moving on, speaking of Jayden Daniels, out of all players in the entire NFL last year, the most rushes with 10 plus yards after contact, including the playoffs, was Jayden Daniels with 27, even above Derrick Henry, who had 24, and Josh Jacobs, who had 20. Jayden Daniels had the most rushing yards with 10 plus yards after contact than anybody else in the entire NFL, again, including running backs like Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs. Come on, man. Also, take a look at every team's Super Bowl record. And this is super duper random, and I don't like the fact that we have like the 1-0 Saints and the 1-0 Jets above us at 3-4 just because they haven't lost the Super Bowl, but they've only won 1. So I don't necessarily like how they did these rankings, the way that they did this, but it's cool. Hey, I'm happy to at least be above the Eagles, who have all of this recent success, but don't forget where you came from, and you need to watch out because the Commanders got next. The Commanders definitely have next out of the entire NFC East. I cannot wait. Now moving on again. How about this graphic right here? How about each team's last 1,600 yard rusher? And there's some elite names here, but for a lot of teams, there's some legendary names that we haven't seen touch an NFL field in forever. But hey, at least we're somewhere in the middle of the pack. Because you got Eric Dickerson over there, you got Otis Anderson, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton for the Bears, Sean Alexander for the Seahawks. But at least for us, you know, you got Alfred Morris. Or how about even worse, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and the Bengals, who have never had a player do it. Ever in their history of being a franchise. Insane. So I feel like we're somewhere in the middle of the pack with Alfred Morris, like somewhere right in the middle. Like, you know, we can brag a little bit compared to half of the league, and then there's another half of the league that's laughing at us. That's cool with me, man. We'll be all right. We'll get one eventually, especially if we go and get one of those dogs in this draft from Marion Hampton, Travion Henderson, Quincy Junkins, maybe Cam Scatterbo. We'll see, man. Maybe we can get the next one, because Jayden Daniels should never be our leading rusher ever again. I love the fact that he can run, but it shouldn't be the entire offense. Please please Adam Peters, Cliff Kingsbury, and y'all guys. I like Brian Robinson, I like Austin Eckler, but please get a guy that gives us some sort of an effect of like a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson at least. Give me something, man. Jayden Daniels deserves better. Speaking of Jayden Daniels, his playoff run was ridiculous because out of NFL postseason defensive stat leaders, he was tied for first in passing yards with Jalen Hurts and Pat Mahomes. Passing touchdowns, my fault. Passing touchdowns with Jalen Hurts and Pat Mahomes with 5 each. He was first in passing yards with 822. Second was Jalen Hurts with 726. Pat Mahomes was third with 679. Now, granted, the Chiefs did have a bye week, but that's no excuse. Jalen Hurts didn't. Josh Allen didn't. Matthew Stafford didn't. So I don't want to hear nothing. Jayden Daniels was the leader in all of the most important defensive stats in the playoffs. His team just sold him by fumbling the ball. It is what it is, man. And allowing Saquon Barkley to run for touchdowns like it was nothing. But we had wet toilet paper defense that day. Even though I blame the fumbles way more than I blame the defense, but still. And then also look at this insane graphic. Now this is purely Ron Rivera's fault for the most part. Maybe you could throw in a little bit of Jay Gruden blame here as well, but this is more of a Ron Rivera problem than anything else. Now look at this, man. Look at the Bears, number 1 in each NFL team's percentage of first and second round draft picks that are starters on the team that drafted them. If you drafted them, their first and second round picks and their starters on your team, and again, you drafted them. This is what this list means. The Eagles are the Bears are the best. The Eagles are the second best, and then there's a pretty big gap between the Eagles in second place, and then the Saints and the Steelers and the Buccaneers, who are tied for third place. How about you see the Commanders all the way down there at the bottom right with 36%? Again, shouts out to Ron Rivera for Jamin Davis, for Emmanuel Forbes, for Jahan Dotson, Chase Young. Thank you for all 4 first-round picks. We're not done. How about the second round picks as well? Like, this is ridiculous, man. We're just gonna go ahead and move on from this negative energy that's coming from this picture right here. How about our boy Mike Sainristil? If you look on the screen right now, this graphic, for every rookie with double-digit pass breakups this season, you have, between the regular season and the postseason, Mike Sainristil with the most out of all rookie corners in the entire NFL. I mean, shouts out to Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Yeah, you Eagles, you did y'all thing. But they're all under Mike Sainristil with 18. Quinyon Mitchell has 16. Nate Wiggins and Renardo Green are tied for third with 13. Then, Georgia Dog, Kamari Lassiter at 12. Kalen Bullock with 11 at 6th, and then Cooper DeJean, Taheeb Still, and Terrion Arnold all tied for 7th with 10. Again, Mike Sainristil stands alone at the top with 18. Stop trying that, man. He's going to make sure you get punished for it. He had a couple of interceptions against the Lions as well. Stop playing with the boy. Also moving on, yet another graphic right here. This is basically showing you the most clutch wide receivers on third down this last season. Highest reception EPA on third down, and you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 1, but you have Terry McLaurin right there, number 2. Now, granted, Amon-Ra St. Brown is number 1 by far, not even close to anybody else, with a plus 42.7. But again, Terry McLaurin is second with a 29.1, right ahead of Courtland Sutton, who has a 28.1 at third place, and Malik Neighbors, who's in fourth place with a 25.7. We're not going to discuss anybody else because it doesn't matter. They're all below Terry McLaurin, which means they're underneath his feet. So we're moving on. Also, how about this one? You may have heard this before. I may have even said this before, but just to let you know, during the 2024 NFL season, Jayden Daniels led the Commanders to 3 games this season with 0 punts and 0 turnovers in the same game. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, and Peyton Manning have combined for just 2 games together in their entire careers, and Jayden Daniels did it 3 times in his rookie season by himself. Again, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, Joe Montana, and Peyton Manning combined between all of them throughout their entire careers for 2. Jayden Daniels had 3 his rookie season. I mean, stop playing with our boy, man. Also, Jayden Daniels was the first quarterback in Washington franchise history to lead the team in both passing and rushing yards. Again, please get this man some help. Also, shouts out to Disco. I thought this was really random but crazy, because he pointed out the fact that Jordan Reed and Zach Ertz are the same age. What could have been? I really think that Jayden Reed, like, for people that aren't burgundy and gold fans, they really don't understand how ridiculously talented Jayden Reed was. I mean, maybe if you're a Florida fan, because I believe that's the college that he went to, I like, unless you're like a Florida fan, you're just like, well, yeah, what happened to that Jayden Reed guy? And then, of course, us as burgundy and gold fans, we saw it. Like, he was like top 5 tight end in the NFL when healthy in his prime. And so it is crazy that, like, Jayden Reed isn't even of the age to where, like, if he was still healthy, you know, he would just automatically be retired. No, he's the same age as Zach Ertz. And Zach Ertz just gave us 20 games last year. So maybe if Jayden Reed, you know, in another universe was drafted to this regime with this medical staff, this physical therapy staff, this coaching staff that knows how to manage their players' health and durability very well, maybe Jayden Reed would still be out there going crazy for us right now. That is crazy that he's the same age as Zach Ertz. It doesn't feel like it, but he is. You know, just injuries catch up to you, man. Injuries suck, man. It's just a lot of the greats, you know, their careers get cut short. Even like one of my favorite players growing up, like T-Mac, Tracy McGrady in the NBA. Injuries suck, man, but it's just a part of sports. Moving on. Shouts out to the Pro Football Hall of Fame ambassador for pointing out the fact that Brandon Coleman, a Commanders offensive tackle, of course, is a rookie that started 12 regular season games in 2024, the most by a Commanders rookie offensive lineman drafted in the 3rd round or later since Derek Dockery in 2003. Insane, man. Brandon Coleman deserves an applaud for that. Definitely deserves an applause for that. And then shouts out to Big Doug, because he said, I've been told several times from people around the league recently that Washington's front office doesn't see the offensive line the same way that the fan base does, which I feel like what I'm hearing noise-wise from the fan base is that they want Brandon Coleman to move from tackle to guard. I think Big Doug is insinuating that maybe the Commanders front office and actual like Commanders brass that actually matter and makes the decisions here are the one they probably see the exact opposite. Maybe they do really like Brandon Coleman at tackle. We'll see. My whole thing is I just feel like we will be a more talented offensive line if you move Coleman to guard, because it's more of a Nick Allegretti problem. I think Brandon Coleman can't play tackle. I just think Nick Allegretti shouldn't necessarily be starting. I think he's an elite backup. I think he's like an all right, maybe like slightly below average starter at left guard. I think if possible, the most talented offensive line, combination of 5 guys you can put out there is you move Brandon Coleman to left guard and then you go get Alaric Jackson or Ronnie Stanley in free agency to start a left tackle for you. I feel like that is a far more talented offensive line than no matter whatever combination you throw out there with Nick Allegretti at left guard. And I'm just ignoring Trey Smith's existence because I already know we're not going to get him in free agency. He's going to demand too much money. But also shouts out to Disco for pointing out the fact that Logan Paulson on the podcast with Craig Hoffman, while we're on the topic about Brandon Coleman, said, 1, Brandon Coleman is interesting, can definitely play tackle due to athleticism, but also has excellent skills inside as a guard, whichever way you want to go about it. Sites have an interior of Coleman, Biotish, and Cosme. That could be elite right there. I'm telling you, ceiling-wise, Cosme at guard ultimately makes the most sense. Even though I'm comfortable with him at tackle, I think him at left guard, and again, you get Alaric or Ronnie over there at left tackle, best case scenario. Number 2, wonders if the team will let him develop at left tackle rather than moving him to left guard. Really interesting discussion to have, but of course, this is street stats, not street discussions. Wanted to give y'all that food for thought. Let's keep it pushing, though. Also, Dorrance Armstrong Jr., Commanders defensive end, had a team-leading 3.5 sacks during the playoffs this past season, the most by any Commander during a playoff run this millennium. So I know, like Dorrance Armstrong, I know we want to go get edge rusher. I mean, like I've said, I'm willing to bring 2. I say give me Trey for Myles Garrett and sign Khalil Mack while you at it. Like, I'm that serious about edge rusher, but don't forget that Dorrance Armstrong was really starting to find a rhythm, and I think it was against the Lions where he showed some serious bend, like some freakish athletic bend that, like, you know, it's very rare to find in just human beings in period in all of existence. So I think he's starting to catch fire. I think next year's Dorrance Armstrong will be way better than last year's. My problem is we need to find some run stoppers, some edge setters. I'm not sure if Dorrance Armstrong or Dante, especially not Dante Fowler, will ever be that for us, but Dorrance Armstrong's pass rush upside is there. He could definitely contribute, especially like if it's like a three-way rotation of Dorrance Armstrong and then two other better edge rushers, not just like at the same level, maybe slightly below. I'm saying better, like again, you trade for Myles Garrett and then still go sign like a Khalil Mack, and then Dorrance Armstrong is like the third of that rotation. I feel like that's the best edge rusher rotation in the entire NFL, and it's not even close. And then also, Mike Sainristil, going back to him, just to let you know, was the most utilized rookie cornerback in the NFL this past season with 1,158 defensive snaps. That is insane, man. Shouts out to Sainristil for going out there and doing that. Second round pick, moved out of position from slot corner to outside corner. Forget that. How about the fact that just 2 years before he was drafted, he was a wide receiver? Then switched to slot corner his last 2 seasons in college. And then when he gets to the NFL, he's slot corner for like maybe 2-3 games. Now he's outside corner, an entirely new position for him as well. I mean, shouts out to him for doing what he did this past season. I already gave you some stats of how impressive he was, but with that context behind it, it makes it even more amazing. Also, just to let you know, and this is probably my favorite stat of this entire video, the most rushing yards in a season without losing a fumble by a quarterback in NFL history, you guessed it, Jayden Daniels with 891 rushing yards, right? Well, how about even more amazingly and more specifically, let's dive a little bit deeper into it. Shouts out to Rep the District. Because in 20 games, 1,281 snaps, 594 of them being pass attempts, 453 of them being handoffs. We got to emphasize that because Baker Mayfield fumbled a handoff against us in the playoffs, so that counts. 183 rushes, 51 sacks taken, and yet Jayden Daniels only fumbled the ball away 0 times. I mean, if you really go back and think about it, just think about the entire season. We've never had to worry about Jayden Daniels fumbling the ball, huh? Like, out of all of the great things he's accomplished just within one rookie season, I feel like that's probably the most underrated one right there, where you got to sit back and be like, wow, actually, when I think about it, he really did not fumble the ball. That's crazy. Moving on. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. Shouts out to Serena Burks of Commanders Wire for finding the next gen stats breakdown of tackle probability. This is a new artificial intelligence model to estimate all 11 defenders' chances of making a tackle every 10th of a second of every play from scrimmage. We're getting nerdier and nerdier when it comes to stats by the season. I love it though. At the end of the season, the NFL used this model to grade each team's defensive tackling ability. They looked at metrics like tackle efficiency and missed tackle yardage loss and graded each team's success. The Washington Commanders landed in the top 10 in this category, ranking 8th overall with an 86.8% of B+. They said in the breakdown, Dan Quinn led the league's greatest turnaround in Washington this season, and one factor was his development of a disciplined tackling unit that improved from 22nd in the NFL in efficiency in 2023 to 5th this year. The Commanders' playoff campaign was keyed by a raft of veteran acquisitions, including Bobby Wagner and Jeremy Chin, who were as impressive as anyone. They were 2 of 4 players in the league to convert over 100 tackles on an efficiency rate of 93% or better. Both cornerstones were on 1-year deals, and Washington might need to pay up to retain them. That's a really interesting way to look at it, man. Like, when it comes to tackling, we were technically one of the best teams in the NFL, which is crazy because I vividly remember Jeremy Chin in that Eagles NFC Championship game, the missed tackle he had on Saquon Barkley. So that means that he had to have been almost perfect the rest of the season outside of that one right there. But that's pretty cool to know that, like, we have some of the best tackling in the NFL, and I feel like that's more of a coaching thing than anything else, which shows that Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. are definitely giving us their money's worth. They're earning their paychecks. And I just feel like all you got to do is add more talent to this team. The coaching is there. You get more talent, Adam Peters, with a second off season. I'm telling you, this defense can be elite. I really, truly believe that. I don't believe it's a lack of coaching. I believe it's just a lack of talent. And it's only but so much you could do in one off season. I mean, to make it to the NFC Championship game after only winning 4 games the previous season, I don't know how people aren't more optimistic about our chances of improving a lot of different parts of the team as well. Also, another graphic for you. Super duper random, but Dove Kleiman uploaded this earlier today. Well, technically yesterday, February 24th, but it's 2 a.m. right now for me while I'm recording this. But he uploaded this graphic of the most arrests since 2015, and boy, the Chiefs are number 1 with 16. And hey, we're all the way at the bottom in a four-way tie for 27th with the Panthers, Dolphins, and Buccaneers for only 4. Then the Chargers have 3, and then the Lions have the least with 32. Hey, man, shouts out to the Giants. Hey, shouts out to the Cowboys. You know, they've had that reputation since well before I was born, going all the way back to like the 70s and 80s for this type of stuff. They're still holding true, being tied for 3rd. And again, the Commanders are all the way at the bottom, and I think that's by design. You know, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, they don't play that. They do not play that at all. And then also another graphic, if you look at this, and this one's pure disappointment in my face. Looking at this, I'm just disgusted because ML Football somehow graded all of the 2024 head coaching hires and based off of what happened in 2024, and somehow Jim Harbaugh got an A+, which is cool. Like, I mean, I don't really see A+. I think maybe A-, but that's just me. I don't think if John Harbaugh's an A+, then Dan Quinn is an A+++. There's no way you can convince me that Dan Quinn doesn't deserve the highest grade from the turnaround that he took from a 4-win team to a 14-win team. Jim Harbaugh, I don't remember exactly what the Chargers went the year before, but they didn't make that much of a leap in wins going from 2023 to 2024. I don't know what Jim Harbaugh did for them to feel like he deserved an A+ and Dan Quinn only deserved an A. I don't know what that is, but hey, I guess that's just what warrants you an A. From 4 wins to 12-5 in the NFC Championship game, I guess that's just 4 wins. And shouts out to DMV Commanders for pointing out the fact that the Chargers went 11-16, a worse record in the regular season than Dan Quinn, and they had a first-round exit. Somehow that's A+. Cool. Just keep hating on the Commanders. Every chance that y'all get is cool. And then also, moving on, really random, but it's crazy to look back at a graphic like this. Shouts out to this account on Twitter, Dwayne. His @ is @Jayden Please Slide, which is funny. I guess he probably made that account earlier in the season because Jayden definitely learned how to slide, so we're good there. But and I know some people don't like to bring up old players that don't, necessarily matter to the team anymore. But I thought this was crazy, and I'm going to explain why. Because this is the mid-season MVP 2023 season rankings, basically. And this is wins versus winning teams, which Pat Mahomes had 2. Sam Howell only had 1. Lamar Jackson had 3. Tua had 0. But passing yards rank, Sam Howell was 2nd. And then Tua was 1st with Pat Mahomes 3rd, Lamar Jackson 14th. And then percentage of team offense, Sam Howell was the biggest percentage of his team's offense up to that point before all of the wheels basically fell off. My point of showing y'all is this, that it's just crazy to think about, like, from the Sam Howell point of view, that even though I wanted to move on and go get a new quarterback in the draft, some people were saying, keep Sam Howell, take tackle, or like maybe even trade back and still take tackle in the first round rather than taking Jayden Daniels and stuff like that. But even as much as I wanted to move on from Sam Howell to go get a new quarterback, it's crazy how he really got hated on by the fact that the Commanders went from 4-13 with him to 12-15 without him the very next year in the regular season, plus 2 playoff wins. And so it's super unlucky for Howell because most quarterbacks would have went 4-13 with that sorry little roster we had in 2023 that Sam Howell had to take care of. From top to bottom, that roster was terrible. And then even worse, most quarterbacks wouldn't have been able to carry even our 2024 roster to 14 wins like Jayden Daniels did. So it's just tough to be the quarterback right before Jayden Daniels goes to have the best rookie season of all time. Like, it makes Sam Howell look crazier. Like, why was Jayden Daniels that successful compared to you? I feel like if there was another quarterback in between, maybe Sam Howell wouldn't look as bad. But to go from 4 wins to 14 and people are looking at, okay, so Jayden Daniels balled out. Who was the quarterback before that? They're just going to look at Sam Howell. They're not going to pay attention to how bad the roster was around Sam Howell. But at the same time, that roster wasn't that much better with Jayden Daniels. Sam Howell couldn't carry a team. Jayden Daniels could. It's literally that plain and simple. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time we release informative and opinionated videos just like this one on this Commanders Kings channel. Again, shouts out to Ed Oliver, Louie T, Rio Robinson. For all of y'all, we will be live streaming Tuesday night. So by the time y'all are watching this, technically tonight, later on tonight, 8:30 p.m. Make sure you pull up, man. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about all of these stats. First of all, let me know if you want me to do more stats videos like these more often. Let me know if you like these stats. Let me know whatever stats you may have a comment about. Do you disagree with some of my opinions on the stats? How do you feel about everything discussed in this video? Please let me know in the comment section below. And please make sure you like this video on the way out and share it to everybody that you know who you think may even be slightly interested in videos like this one. I really appreciate y'all, man. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.